You've mentioned the loopholes in Hong Kong's electoral system. You argued this hinders the city's ability to be governed by patriots. So what are the dangers of this?
香港的这个选举制度，它的漏洞可以从4个层面上评。
First of all, the system itself is contradicting internally, which cannot guarantee the fair drawing of voting districts, not to mention elections. Second, its geographical constituency adopts a proportional representation system, which is an electoral system that is only suited for the national level. However, Hong Kong is a city. Under such a system, the election results are very fragmented. Extreme forces can be easily encouraged. Public opinion can be consolidated through elections. Third, the election of the Hong Kong Legislative Council and the Electoral Committee for the Chief Executive are based on a functional constituency, which are out of date. Fourth, the rule of ensuring governance by patriots protected by the Constitution and the Basic Law has not been well refined and implemented yet. In fact, this is the basic responsibility of any administration. However, it is far from being done in Hong Kong. There is a basic principle in modern elections, political honesty. If your oaths are not implemented, it can constitute election fraud.
这个其实是可以作为一个选举的欺诈行为。
So you accuse West of meddling in Hong Kong's election and supporting of anti-China forces in the city. Can you tell us more about this?
香港是一个国际性的城市。
Many residents of Hong Kong come from diverse backgrounds. Since 2019, a considerable number of people from the extreme opposition have colluded with foreign governments. The Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act passed by the U.S. Congress is one example. Another interesting finding is that U.S. congressmen have named their special agents in Hong Kong publicly, and one said Joshua Wong was their third-generation agent.
第3代代理人，其中就有一个讲过，黄之锋就是他们的第3代代理人。
Hong Kong is about to hold its first legislative elections this September since the national security law was introduced. What are your concerns?
这推迟年以后啊，这个在香港的回归以来，历史上是从来没有碰到过的。
Postponing the legislative election has never happened in the city's history. The postponement itself will face a lot of questions. The pandemic is also a factor. The most important concern is whether the principle of letting patriots govern be implemented by them. Actually, members of the extreme opposition had already held what they called a primary election before the Legislative Council election last year, with the intention of winning a majority in the Legislative Council. Will they give up what they have already fought for? I'm not sure. Legally speaking, there are no primaries in Hong Kong's election system. They use a legal loophole to build up political momentum. Specifically, they conducted voting at public places that are meant to provide services to voters. They also openly raised money from abroad.
公开向国外筹款呢，我们说。
Well, Hong Kong's economy contracted by a record 6.1% in face of the protest movement as well as the fallout from the pandemic. So what challenges does the city face?
香港的经济走向收缩，其实是从2019年就开始。
Hong Kong's economic contraction actually started in 2019. The anti-fugitive bill protests left the city less politically stable, eventually impacting the economy. So the primary challenge is to establish a relatively stable political system. Second, it is how to face the results of some countries' sanctions on Hong Kong's economic development. The third is how to curb the pandemic.
快一点结束这个新冠疫情。